Welcome, everybody, to the Netherkast. I am Cyborg, and I am joined, as always, by Temp, Shad.
Yo.
It's a little out of order here. And Razor, maybe. He is online now, so he will probably be joining us momentarily.
His dot is green.
Yes. So
Sleep at the wheel.
But on that note, in case you're not familiar with who we are the Nethercast. We have been doing this podcast since Mortal Kombat X, leading into Mortal Kombat X. And we are comprised of longtime Mortal Kombat fans for pretty much the entire length of the series, and longtime Mortal Kombat fandom members online in the community since the Deadly Alliance days. But yeah, so if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, make sure you subscribe, stick around. We do podcasts just like this, live streams, videos. We got a Discord community that you can check out in the description. So make sure to subscribe and like the video. I would greatly appreciate it. That being said, let's get to it because there is a lot of stuff to discuss, a lot of exciting things. So where do we begin? I mean, there are just so many things.
I think logically we should probably start with the girl of the hour.
Yeah,
the one we saw first.
Good. All right. Well, I'm going to take the reins here for a second because I actually went back today. I went for a long little walk/run. Did about 7 miles. I'm a little exhausted, but I used that time wisely. And during the couple hours that I was outside, I chose to re-listen to our predictions episode because this is kind of where it came to a clash, right? So this was our episode on should Li Mei return or not. And we had our long, drawn-out 30-minute discussion, kind of debate, really, just kind of picking Temp's brain a little bit on what important qualities Li Mei needs to have as one of his favorite characters, right there with Smoke. Obviously, I've been wanting her back as well. She's one of my favorites, probably top 10, top 15. Anyways, so it sounded like, just a little recap, the main things to get right with Li Mei, coming from Li Mei diehard fans, are kind of like her moveset, that wuxia, crouching tiger stuff that we saw, so the kung fu. But even more importantly, just make her a good character, right? You know, make sure she's still on the side of good. Don't make her just inherently evil, like Shao Kahn's orphan child, you know, working for Shao Kahn type of stuff. So that being said, Temp, now that we see her, we've saw a bit of her gameplay. Obviously, there's a lot still to peel away at that onion. We saw her initial design. We got a little bit of story significance. We got her bio. Sounds like she is going to be like a guard of sort, or she works for like a police force almost. Kind of reminds me of like Police Story or something. She still kind of was raised from a village, and that kind of mentality of being kind of like your was it Umgadi? Is that how you say that? Umgadi?
I've heard all sorts of
I believe that's how it's pronounced, yes. It's the Umgadi.
Which is like the royal...
Unagi.
Yeah, just like the royal guard for Outworld of sorts. The Edenian / Outworld, like whatever we're dealing with in terms of this, what Outworld looks like this time around. Pretty Outworld. It's the same kind of force that it sounds like Katana, Melina, Tanya, they're all mixed up into this Umgadi as well. And she ultimately, as we find out in her bio, she was like the lead officer, the lead guard, the head of this guard. And at one point under her watch, I guess the princess's father, which we could only assume is Gerard.
Let's call him Gerard. No Subway references today. Please.
Yeah, we don't need any of that. Gerard is likely killed under her watch. So she, even though it's probably not her fault, she feels a semblance of guilt from this. And she's looking to redeem herself, but she steps down from this force. And now she is working directly with Liu Kang, it seems like, and is looking to kind of clear her name and redeem herself. So now that we kind of got all that out there, just from initial face value, where are you at? I think most people are going to want to know your opinion above all else.
Well, there's a short answer and there's a long answer. The short answer is she looks good. The long answer is when you're talking about Lee May, I do think it's more important to talk about what she is not than what she is. She's not a robot. That's really big to me. She's not like a dragon princess. She's not like a demon. These are all really big deals to me, even though they're entirely abstract and non-tangible.
Right.
So I'm actually amazed they got that right. And I think if you'd asked like me a month ago, say, hey, Temp, I'm from the future, and I know they're going to do Lee May right. Why do you think they're going to do Lee May right? I'm like, well, I don't know. I think there's many reasons why they try to reinvent the character. I don't think they believe the character is that popular. I don't know why they would be faithful to the original rendition. And now it seems like they're kind of using Kelly Hu's popularity as sort of like an attachment to the character. I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. That's why they're being faithful to the character. So the character's good. I really like the character a lot. The costume looks really good. The moves look good. I like the moves are back. She's not as floaty as I would like, but that's fine. Like, we couldn't get everything.
We didn't
But overall,
see
she was
much
really
like
good.
of her air combos yet. There was, I think, only one of her air combos in the actual trailer, and she does that like it's like a flip kick. She does one of her front flip kick that she had in Deadly Alliance or Deception. So she does that as like the ender of it, and I love I think people called it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like called a foo dog. It's like a Chinese lion type of thing. Is that right?
There are a couple different names
Oh, yeah.
for it. Guardian lion, lion dog, food dog. The Chinese term is shishi.
Okay. So that I love that aesthetic for her. I also really that's just like it feels like they really took this character and they just added. They didn't really subtract in a lot of ways, and I think that was kind of best case scenario for, fans of this character. This is kind of how you do the decent 3D era characters correctly. You bring them back, you take what worked for them and let them have that still, and then you just build on top of it. And I feel like that's ultimately what they're doing here with her. And I absolutely love it. I feel like her sparklers have been made more interesting to more of like the firecracker like effect. It gives me Jubilee vibes, which is a cool character. I do want to say she has like the best fatality in the game so far. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I thought that
It has the best ending to a fatality. I think the ending's brilliant.
and it's
I'm always down
it's
for a good fireworks
funny.
show.
It goes on a little bit too long, but they're
Yeah,
all
it's
going
super
to.
busy.
And for what it is, it's entertaining as hell. I'll say that. Yeah.
it's is it not a callback to like her Deception one? I think doesn't she like
Well,
backflip kick their head off or something in Deception? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's something of that nature. It is like a super kick of some sorts, if I remember right. But I always did the Kill Bill fatality when I played.
Yeah,
Deception.
that's the one that I
yeah,
remember
those
the
fast
most.
punches. Yeah, that would be another
It's like
good one.
around that era, it was all about like bringing in like all those influences from Tarantino and stuff, because Kill Bill was sweeping the nation. You kind of had that fire and Crouching Tiger, Hidden. It was about like a kind of capitalizing on a sort of minor film renaissance of martial arts and kung fu cinema.
Right.
So I liked Lee May. Not as much as some of the other 3D characters. Like, she kind of started out as, if I'm being honest, like kind of halfway waifu bait. She had jiggle physics when you walk
Right.
left to right. Let's not forget that. And
Yeah.
I wasn't wild about her. Like, for me, she was like the interesting character who kind of also had Melina's size, that she didn't need them, and a couple of
also
cool
purple.
moves. She was also purple, also had Melina's size. I didn't really start actually liking her all that much until Deception came along.
I liked her in Deadly Alliance, but she didn't become one of my favorite characters until Deception.
Yeah. When I look at a character, I look at like their special moves, their story, and the hopes that I have going forward are like keep the character basically as intact. And looking at Lee May here, I kind of see someone who's just kind of still out to protect her own, much in the same way that she was in Deadly Alliance, and I love that. I still see a lot of her old school special moves. She's got like the dashing punches and stuff, and she's got the sparklers.
Right.
I think that they're using her extremely well. I think she's come a long way from like very humble beginnings, and I think they did a really good job with her on the whole. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of role she's got.
I know, like a lot of people. Well, like when the reveal happened, I got a lot of pings. I mean, a lot of pings from all over the world, and I think if people want to know, like ultimately, what my reaction is, it was a very positive reaction. but it wasn't one of hype. It was one of relief. I felt like Matt Damon at the end of Saving Private Ryan. I was Matt Damon and Tom Hanks both. It was just, man, just the all the variables, all the things they could have done. It's hard to understate how many bullets we dodged with Lee May and how good she looks. And the costume looks good too. I mean, I would like a little more color, but the costume looks good. I like I'm always going to be partial to deception, but I think this works. This is good. The hair looks great. Hashtag smoke.
You'll get used to it. Come on, you'll get used to it.
Well, I mean, like I said, I like smoke enough. Like, there's no deal breaker in smoke. But yeah, Lee May looks really good. I'm very happy with that character.
I remember a time when MK9 was fresh and new, and everyone was like, "What the shit is all this gray anime hair stuff? What is going on? It looks so out of place." And now everyone just kind of loves it. So I look at Smoke now, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
I mean, we love the long hair on Smoke because of fan art. Don't get it twisted. It looked terrible in the game.
What I'm saying is people got used to it, the implementation one way or another. And yes, the select screen in particular looked kind of bad, but we came to accept it as a trademark of the character. We'll get used to this hair. It's the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and half of us are going to put a mask on it anyway, so.
That's a good question. I mean, that opens up another interesting topic, but yeah, Lee May's really good. I'm super happy she turned out the way she did. I even like the cop aspect. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but making her like a cop and have all like the mannerisms of a cop feels very Chung-Li to me with the whole Interpol thing. So yeah, everything works. Everything comes together really nicely. And if you have I don't know much about the actress, but I guess I get the energy around her seems like she's very popular, at least among animation and games. I could be wrong about that, but that seems to be the impression I get.
Yeah, I dig that too. I think it's a good, like, out of all the possibilities for her, that's a good one. I think like as like a guard, royal guard cop kind of approach to her, it keeps her feeling very noble. It feels like it's giving her a real cause. I also like that she's like an ex-cop of sorts, and it's like she did that. She did her best, so she has that still kind of tragic background. Something bad happened under her watch that she feels guilty about, so now she has a level of redemption that she's going to go for. And I'm assuming like in the story they might play into that, and we might get like a twist where she finds out that ultimately it's not her fault, you know, that happened, and that was going to happen regardless type
100%.
of thing.
Tanya telegraphs that very well.
I got some thoughts about what happened and how Tanya's involved, and you can see where this is going already.
Yeah, which is cool. I think that's a great interplay. And honestly, this kind of ties into my biggest like pro of the story so far that we've seen from all the bios. I mean, people can nitpick all like the little details and changes as they please. But for me specifically, what I'm really enjoying about all these bios, it feels like the characters are very interconnected. Like a lot of their stories are really intertwined with each other in a way that has me excited to see how it plays out. It doesn't feel like anymore where this character is just tied to this character, kind of like the Sonya and Kano factor, where it's like they're just continually going back and forth. It feels like several characters are kind of like they have strands of the web that are interacting with so many other characters that I'm hoping that it comes through in the actual story mode, that like there's a lot of depth and like follow through on it, where we actually get, you're not just seeing like like one thing that feels really nice is Lee May does not feel like just a jobber character that's just going to show up for a small bit role. Same with Kenshi. It feels like they're playing major roles, which has me excited. Obviously, execution's another thing, and we'll see how that all plays out. But just for face value of what I see thus far, I think that's pretty cool.
I was hoping she would get the Kenshi treatment, and she still might. My hope for Lee May was stances. I was hoping she would have like a lot of different stances, defensive and offensive,
right,
and like mobility stances. She might still have all that. But if she doesn't, like that's fine. Like, okay, well, actually, one thing: don't make all her shit negative on block. That might be the one thing. Like, please don't do that. Liu Kang gets plus frames. I think Lee May should also have plus frames. Brusque.
Right.
Love you, Brust.
From a gameplay standpoint, did she look fun? Brusque. Say that.
Yeah, no, she does look fun. I can't really draw much conclusions yet, though. A lot
Yeah.
of it is string into launcher or mid-range special. I couldn't really get more than that. I got more from Tanya than I got from her.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm curious if she's going to be in the beta.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to Evo, so like I'm gonna be all up in them guts. And they said that Evo will have some characters that haven't been revealed yet either. So I'm looking forward to like spending some time on that and playing that. And I would imagine the Evo build would probably be the beta build ultimately, unless they do more for Evo, which would be also pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, just from my perspective, like Lee May right now is my main. Like, obviously, I'm still holding out for a potential Astra reveal, and if she's revealed and she looks awesome and like she fits to my playstyle, that's absolutely the character I'm gunning for to be my main. But right now, out of everybody that they've shown off, Lee May is like near perfect to me. Like this is when I envision Lee May, and I've been talking her up over the last, several months of when we've kind of had these discussions about like what could they do with her? What could they do with Lee May that's good or bad? This is kind of what I envision in my mind, and I love the visual flair that they threw on like the Foo Dog stuff, and just like it's cartwheels, it's flips, it's kicks and kung fu and all that shit, and the story mode, she looks like a lot of fun. I dig the design. I'm looking forward to see what else she has for like her alternates. But yeah, this is the character. So
It's worth noting they did reveal Astra. She rides a motorcycle.
Yes, I mean cage match, of course. Can't forget that. Which is
It's
crazy.
very Astra. It's not like a little Astra. It's not like a dab of Astra. It's very Astra.
It's very
Some of
Astra.
us have stuck to our roots. Some of us have branched out in exciting and interesting new directions.
But yeah, honestly, I still I got a big kick out of her fatality. I do have to ask though. So last time we talked in terms of hype factor, we were talking about the Lin Kuei trailer. Of course, I asked you, okay, you were a 5 out of 10. And you said you've long said Smoke and Lee May are the things that can move the needle for you, plus just fun gameplay and all that. Things like no like you want to be able to see combos and all that shit. So that being said, Smoke knocked it up to a 6 out of 10. You were saying before Lee May could potentially bring you up to a 7. Are you at a 7 yet?
Okay, so interesting. Well, yes, the answer is yes, but there's context needed. First of all, so when Smoke brought me up to a 6, every waking day that went down a little bit more every time I looked at Smoke. Every time I saw the mask, the score just went a little lower each day.
Guys.
He looks like an anteater. Get off my back.
It's just the amount of people out there who are like, the mask sucks and the hair sucks. And I'm like, you're just gonna put another one on.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
How many times have I had this shit happen?
If it was just the mask, I might see eye to eye there. But
Smoking. Speaking of the mask.
We're going to talk about like this particular angle more when we get to Combat Pack 1, because I have my limits. For me, Smoke is like a 75% of the way there thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that
I
I
like
agree with
most
you on,
of what I
yes.
see. It just if you just put a paper bag over his head, and I think you'll enjoy what's there to be enjoyed. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We'll revisit this, of course, but real briefly, there's no costume that's going to get rid of those grenades. And every day I think about the grenades, and I close my eyes and the grenades are there. But that said, Lee May got us up to 2 full points, which to close on that point, a 7's a really good score, guys. It's like, oh, only a 7? Oh, Temp. No, 7's a good score. I do not give 7s out all the time. Trust me. 7's a really
attempts
good score.
to put it into context for anybody that hasn't been following us long enough to know like how we all grade things and how that curve looks, how that scale looks. A 7 for Temp is like a 9 for me, basically. So I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable score.
Yeah, it's fairly
I would say
consistent.
a 9 for me is like what a 9 for most people would be, like the general population. So when you hear that 7 out of 10, just think, hey, Temp's excited. He's liking a lot of this stuff.
Most people, they're like, a 5 is a 0.
Right.
Like, they would never use the lower half of the scale, so they might as well be grading things 1 to 5 instead.
Right.
Yeah, 5 is average.
So yeah, that context absolutely matters here, because I know a lot of people will probably think, oh, he's getting like a lot of the things that he wants. He's getting 2 of his favorite characters, even if Smoke is not perfect yet. Like I said, like Shad was alluding to, I mean, there's gonna, if they don't have gear, we still don't know customization wise. They've kind of played it very close to their vest.
They've been coy about that. They know that the gear system didn't exactly go over kind of way that they were hoping, I think. And like we said, there seem to be things like maybe Shang's claws and the ninja mask that just kind of stand out a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried at all in that regard. I think there's going to be plenty of options to play with, and we'll find things to enjoy.
Sure, maybe if there is a gear system of any sort, maybe they'll turn those smoke grenades into just like smoke pellets, and then you can just call it a day.
Maybe there'll be an empty option like there were for some things.
But that aside,
Maybe.
but that aside, so any other thoughts on Lee May? It sounds like we're all fairly happy with her. I mean, this is our first like actual 3D era returning character in 17 years. And if you don't count Armageddon, we're talking going back all the way to Deception. So take it to 19 years that we have been able to play this character in a standalone game that wasn't an all-in game. This is a big fucking deal. Like, I think people like undersell it because obviously there's been leaks out there and whatnot. But if those didn't exist, people would just be losing their minds even more than they already have, because this is a big fucking deal. This by no means was a guarantee. And not just is she in the game, not only are we getting a 3D era character, but she is done respectfully and well. And that cannot be understated. So hats off to NRS. Thank you, because I really do like this character. You have now given me a potential main here, and I am super fucking stoked. And if this is a peek into what is to come with the remaining 3D era characters that we hope to receive based on all the tweets and the teasing, then yes, please. I would like some more, please. This is wonderful. This is what we've been asking for Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat X. This is what we've been begging for in our entire existence of the Nethercast for almost 9 years now, as more of this, more character representation like this, and we're finally getting it. So I absolutely do not want to undersell that or underhype it, because this is a big fucking deal. This is exactly, in a lot of ways, what we have been asking for. So thank you.
Yeah, that's why context is so important. That's why I keep trying to
this
tell people I'm Matt Damon, so they know what to expect as far as the analogy goes. Like, it's been a long wait. Like, it's been many years. Took a lot of years to get here. So it's a good thing though. And like I said, it's relief. It's just unbelievable relief.
Razor, now that you're actually with us and awake, I think, have you any thoughts? Because you've been kind of quiet so far.
Yeah, I actually really like the Guardian Lion special effects. I think there's some really interesting things you can do with like the idea of she had these very generic sparkly projectiles in Deadly Alliance, and there's really no lore behind them. So what can we do to make them more interesting? I think that was a good creative way to expand on it, and you can sort of imagine in your head where that kind of thing would come from, like, because the imagery of the Guardian Lion, like these statues at Buddhist monasteries or like at the front gates of a village, they're called Guardian Lions because the idea is they protect the place you put them at, like a. And she's like the protector of her village. Although Sundo has been turned into the capital of Outworld now, rather than a tiny fishing village, but it's still the same idea. She's like the captain of the guard now, instead of like a young and idealistic townsperson.
Right.
But like, I would have given her more of like they gave Fujin a sword in 11, and they gave him all this like walking on air and doing crouching tiger stuff with the sword. I would have given all the sword stuff that he had to Li Mei, because I believe in sort of honing closer to the roots of like what a character was inspired by. And she was inspired so much by Crouching Tiger that I would not have avoided
I'd agree
that
with
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, you talk about characters, there are characters who need a weapon, like Scorpion needs a spear and Cabal needs his hook swords.
Oh
And there
my
are so
God.
many characters that never needed a mandatory weapon mechanic. Like, the axe was not part of the image of Ermac in Deception. We'll get to Tanya, but I don't think she needed a 3-section staff. I don't
we
think,
have to. Once we get to Tanya, yeah.
I don't think Rain needed the punching dagger in 11. You know, some characters just don't need a weapon, and I think Li Mei's image actually does lend itself towards having a Chinese sword. I think that's where they should have gone. But I do really enjoy the fireworks and the shishis. So
I would have liked a weapon just to make it closer to the 3D era for Li Mei, just to kind of keep her grounded in that.
Is it still see her with the sword? Sure.
Is it possible that she does have the sword? Notice on her her concept art, all of her concept art, she has that sword.
I didn't see it in the trailer. I didn't see any moves where she pulled
that's
out a sword.
like
and
it's possible.
The thing I was looking for more is, okay, so in Deadly Alliance Deception, she had this float like a bicycle kick, but it was punches, and she'd sort of float in an awkward knees up stance when she did it, and I can understand why she does it standing on the ground now.
Right.
But I would have rather it had something floaty to it. I sort of want the floatiness and the wuxia, like walking on air or walking on tree branches or however you would do it. That imagery is more important to me than the sword is. I just think if she was holding a sword, it would be easier to have those animations.
Maybe
it is true that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is like floating people who aren't Saiyans, the movie, and that is where she comes from.
No, I was just gonna say I do think it's important to note, like, if that is her special, like, and that's just not a combo ender. I mean, even if it is a combo ender, we don't know. But let's just
combo ender. Like, I didn't see her doing it raw. I saw her. She has the firework projectile. She has the cartwheels in both directions, forward and backward, and
the flip kick.
I like that stuff coming back. I only saw her do a rapid punch combo as the end of a string. So I don't know if that's still a special.
That could be a
move
canceled
or not.
into special. I guess my point is, first of all, like, we see very little of Li Mei. Like, we only see like 2 combos and then, you know, probably 75% of her specials. But like, there's still so much more of that apple to bite off that I hope we get to see more sooner rather than later. But my point is, if it is a special, then that's something that theoretically she could be doing as a part of her air combos. So I could easily see her doing like a floaty version of that in the air, much like other characters have like air versions of their fan toss that look different. That could just be the case with that special.
Sure, but my point is I don't want it to be just one move. I would have had it be her entire thematics. Like, her whole move set would have very like slow floaty jumps, and it would be. It's hard to sort of imagine how that would look and how you differentiate that from the air combos. So I don't know if I'm explaining it super well, but I always imagine something that was a little more feet off the ground.
Sure.
Well, if you go into the gameplay section, I actually did a whole little, I guess, a little column about what I would do with Li Mei. I would have made her weapon purely a stance. I would have made it one of 4 stances specifically. And that is her defensive stance. That is her Crouching Tiger stance, so to speak. And yeah, it's hard to tell what they're doing. Hopefully the beta will shed some light on this, because right now it is a little vague.
I mean, I think we can agree that we see the basic elements of what makes Li Mei enjoyable. Not everything, but it's a great fucking start, I think.
Yeah,
the foundation's perfect.
Yeah, I'm curious. I really want to see more.
But we have a lot to talk about, and it's been about a half an hour of Li Mei. So I think that on the topic of seeing 3D characters we haven't seen in a while, we gotta talk about that moment in the trailer where all the music just stops, and look who it is. It's Darrius.
Yeah, this is it was part of my my reaction when I was reacting to it live. Bruss did this. I think Max even called him out. Like everybody whose immediate reaction was like, "Was that fucking Darrius? No fucking way! They fucking Darrius? Are you fucking
Yeah.
kidding me?" Like
was,
nobody
it was,
expected it, but it was surprisingly met with like glee. Nobody was like, even Max
like,
was
people-
just like, nobody was like, Darrius, really? They added Darrius in this game? They're wasting a cameo spot on Darrius? No, everybody.
No, people were like, "What the? It's this dude! Holy shit!" We're just that happy to see a guy from that era back, even if they didn't really go over all that well back in the day in the first place. Like when I was like when all this stuff was going on, I was on my way home from work on a really really long like ride, and I was like just watching the chat, and all I started seeing is all caps Dara. Oh my god, they did it! Like. He's arguably the moment from the trailer that like exploded everyone's minds.
He was the striker
Or-
of this one. Like,
yeah.
it just caught
Yeah,
everybody
kinda.
off guard.
I think even
Like-
harder than Stryker did in the first place.
Well, what's weird is because like I'm thinking of all the trailers thus far and the biggest moments, and I don't know if this is just once again, I don't know if this is like a side effect of the leaks kind of taking the edge off seeing some of the playable characters, and it's not like lack of excitement or happiness or satisfaction with them, but I think it's that like the cameos were really coming from left field that we really have no idea what to expect. No leaks have put out any of the like to expect this cameo or this cameo. So I think back to all the trailers thus far, Stryker was one of the biggest reactions from everybody because we just didn't expect him. Frost, for me, in the Lin Kuei trailer, got probably the biggest reaction for me because I just didn't expect her at all to be a part of this game, and it's classic Frost. So I'm like, holy shit, I lost my mind. Like, that excites me greatly. I'm going to be using her. That's awesome. And then Darrius this time. So, like, the cameos in a lot of ways are stealing the show, which is fucking awesome. It just goes back to show, like, how great of an idea this is to run with this, because you have your playable roster to get excited about, but then you have, like, this just, like, fucking crazy picks for cameos that are just so exciting, because I don't think anybody would have chosen Darrius as like a playable spot. Well, I shouldn't say anybody, but just the large majority of the audience would not have chosen Darrius to take up like a roster slot. There's just so many other characters that people are hoping to see ahead of him. But then as a cameo, it just feels so harmless. It's like, it's fucking Darrius, and it's exactly how he was, but this is such like a harmless, inoffensive way to like bring him back into the fold, maybe grab some new eyes on this character and excite people about this character, have him have like some cool shit, have him have some fun specials and some personality with what he's doing and his fatality, and then go from there. Maybe this is enough to like change some opinions, and I think that's great.
Well, what's interesting about Darrius, and probably the most important part of the character, is how many points I get for having him in my fantasy draft.
Yeah,
We
you
made
do.
the list. So I would like to ask everyone to hold that. They
Stay
could.
winning.
Thanks. Oh, I got Khameleon with a K as well. Ha.
You
bastard,
do.
I'm jealous.
Okay.
I do.
I was
freaking
starting
do.
to like look at who gets what from that trailer, and I frankly forgot female Khameleon.
Yeah, well, I do like Darrius though. I think he's a fantastic choice. I just didn't think he had a chance in hell.
Right.
But
He is
Darrius
literally
is Darrius. I mean, what's up?
he is to me the definition of ideal cameo material, because I've also said in the past, like, I think he's one of MK's worst characters ever, and like it is a shame because it's not entirely his, like, there wasn't enough space for the game he debuted in for him to actually do much of anything except for like being in Conquest. And in like Razor's and my playthrough of Razor's playthrough of Conquest, where I'm like telling him where to go and we're talking about all the shit, like we actually just on our last video we ran into him and did a fight against him, and he slapped us around a little bit, and he's got some good lines. Like the potential was always there. It's just that he didn't have any space to do much of anything, and the implementation wasn't all that great. But like, there's the foundation of something that could be really good there. He has this really great line in "I look forward to resisting arrest." Enjoy. Like, he's smooth. He's smooth and he's stylish, and you know, I'm kind of hoping against hope that he has a bit of a part to play in the story somewhere at some point. I'd like to see some chaos, and I think maybe we just will.
And you can't put him back in the box now. The world
Nope.
knows about Darrius. You can't hide him anymore. We have a Darrius out in the wild, and now they have to factor him in every game they make from now on. They don't have a choice.
It says, I mean, if anything, and this is kind of something I've like really harped on over the last few months of just why it's so important to bring the 3D era characters back and give them another chance. Like they all essentially deserve at least one more chance to shine in a modern game, is because by doing so, it's going to reinvigorate their own interest in the character by touching them again, by actually being able to play with that toy again. They're going to be like, hey, this character actually has some potential here, and it's actually kind of fun doing this. Like, I feel good about this. I feel good when we bring Fujin back and Frost back, and now Li Mei and Darrius, like to be able to take these characters that not everybody loved or kind of had ho-hum, whatever, like they don't stand up to the trilogy, XYZ, whatever your opinion is of these characters, to bring them back and get your hands on them and put a modern take on them and a modern spin and really flesh out their moveset and give them all the love that a modern character gets from top to bottom, and how much more personality they get in their gameplay these days. Like, that is so important for these characters to get that opportunity to ever see them again. Like, if they don't get that chance, we'll likely never see them again because, yeah, they're just going to fade away to obscurity in the past. But to bring a character back like a Li Mei, like a Darrius, whatever, and give them another, an actual modern spin, only serves everybody like well, because then it gives that character a better chance to gain a bigger fan base. There's so many more people that play these games than that did the 3D era games. We've talked about that before. I mean, their last couple games have been like, they went from like 10 million or whatever it was for MKX to 15 million in MK11 sales. So there's more players than ever. And yeah, now's the time to hopefully get your favorite characters, or these characters that never really got a fair shake, back into the mix and see if they sink or swim. And if they sink again, then yeah, at that point, they're probably best left in the past. But
I
if they
started thinking
swim,
about fucking Movado today, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of thirsty for this now.
yeah.
I shouldn't be, but I am. Like, I kind of want to see what they could do with Movado, and I don't give a shit about Movado.
Yeah, it's exciting. So yeah, I think this is
Well,
just
my
a
only
great
disappointment
thing.
there is he will look like Movado. Like, I like Darrius as a costume, but I'm kind of sad they're not going to update Movado.
I'm nostalgic for ropes and shitty spiked shoes. That's what I want.
Yeah,
in my life right now.
Get ready for those pants hiked all the way up to his nipples and the one-arm trench coat.
Yeah, that's the shit right there.
I think
Hope
that's
you're not
what's so great
nostalgic for
about it.
sleeves.
It's just unapologetically authentic to the way they were, and I kind of love the charm of that. Like the good
they
and the bad.
They did redesign Darius's deception costume a little bit. Like, I kind of miss the popped collar, but that's a nitpick. He looks pretty good.
I think he's a smooth, suave-looking motherfucker, and I'm glad to see him back. Doesn't matter if he's in the story or not. It's cool. It's a treat. It's all it
Yeah.
is. So
Go
speaking of treats and cameos, I'm thinking to the back of Tanya, we now see someone who seems a little bit pale, maybe sometimes see-through, is wearing a little bit of orange and yellow, and it just might be motherfucking Khameleon with a K.
Yeah, I don't think it's been confirmed
Well,
entirely, but I think
It's what everyone's thinking.
yeah.
Here's the thing: is that character is wearing very distinctive knee pads. Those are the Khameleon logo from Armageddon.
Ah, okay.
there you
Well,
go.
then, yeah, I think it's fair to assume then. I called it
Gotta
out in the
say-
trailer, so I felt pretty confident. But yeah, if that's true, then yeah, then by all means, gotta be, right?
Again,
I would
ideal
think
cameo
so.
material. I love the character and I always have, and I want her to be more involved in stuff, but I don't kid myself. I know that she's like a C-list side character who's only really relevant to Reptile when she's around at all. It would be nice if there was more to it than that.
Well, the thing
I am
is,
just happy to
we
see her.
see her in a cutscene. So she's probably one of those story exclusive cameos Ed has talked about.
Right.
Maybe she'll even have lines. That would be nice. I hope there's a little bit more than just her standing in the background and being killed off in a fight scene. That's all I'm really hoping for, because I love this character. I always have. And it's weird that she's wearing, out of all things, man, like yellowy orange. There's this
Well, I
ongo-
imagine she's in that color. Like, so in the games, her outfit can change colors, but she's probably wearing yellow in the cutscene because all of the
Umgadi.
fucking
Yeah.
the Dora Milaje knockoffs from Black Panther, that plot device that they're doing now. They're all wearing yellow, so she's probably one of them.
So it's part of So you think it's a uniform, huh? Okay.
It's kind of like Goro
can
thing.
s-
Yeah, this is her story outfit probably.
I can see it. I do hope, obviously, that she kind of, flickers back and forth through various colors at some point. That'd be really nice.
Yeah.
Like we've talked recently about how sick they could make like that transparent look that they had going on in Armageddon look nowadays, and that's the shit that I really want to see.
Yeah, I'm
So we don't
hoping,
actually see her
like,
doing
I'm hoping
anything,
her
but
skin isn't finished because Just Gray is kind of a letdown compared to what they
Needs-
could do.
I'm hoping for more. I'm reserving judgment, but I'm hoping for more, and I'm just glad to see her now that it does appear to be her. It is just kind of funny though to see her like wearing orange yellow, even if it is a uniform, because a lot of people like have that argument whether or not Tanya is one of like the group that constitutes Katana, Melina, and Jade, and like people like no, Tanya is not, and yes, she is because she wears the yellow, and they wear the other colors and stuff, and Armageddon comes along and she's flashing yellow too, and she's got Tanya's moves, and I always found that absolutely hilarious, always. But I'm just glad to see her. I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah.
I'm just that's another couple of points of excitement for me because I love Khameleon and always have.
Yeah, that's a big one. Like there to actually not just to have her as like a non-canon cameo or anything or DLC cameo or anything like that, to actually have her in the story mode represented and have her actually having a role for once. That's huge. Like that is not something I would have expected. So that's a really cool surprise.
Shitting myself with excitement. I hope it's, oh my god. I really hope that they ask us what cameos we want to be DLC characters in the future, because man, I'm getting antsy already. Anyone else got anything else?
Not on Khameleon, but it's probably
I am actually a little curious. So all we saw Darrius actually do in the trailer was a throw, and so far his throw is the only one in the game where both the cameo and the player character hit them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he runs up, he gives you a knee to like the gut and slams you down, then tosses you over.
Yeah, it's very
much.
just straight physical attack, which like my question is, every cameo has like 3 special moves and a fatality and a fatal blow. Darrius, one of the reasons Darrius was like the worst character in the 3D era is because his moves didn't make sense. They felt like they were just chosen at random in a create a character maker. So it's like he had like a generic fireball. He stole like a Tatsu from Cyrax. I can't even.
And he had like some lunge. He had some lunge punches.
Oh yeah,
or
he
something.
had like a sliding forward punch. And they all kind of had like a blue glowing energy on them. And there was like no lore for any of them, no theme tying them together. They were just 3 random moves. So I can't imagine they would create new moves for him if the whole idea of the cameos is to like remind you of what they were like to be like retro.
Right.
But they've got to do something because those moves sucked.
I mean, I could see them like. One thing I do remember about his special moves, like certainly their general weirdness, is that he had that interesting kind of turnaround palm forward animation with his fireball.
Yeah, he did have like
I forget if
did,
anyone
like,
else
little
had that.
pirouettes. I could see them like sprucing that up, like making that more fancy by maybe turning them into like dance moves, have him do a little Michael Jackson on the floor or something.
You're just thinking that alternate, that funky alternate.
Yeah. But like, there was a reason that when Smokeman and I did our redesign episode, we threw all of his moveset out. We gave him moves that were like riot themed. Like he had a stun baton, tear gas grenades, and a holographic riot shield was what we gave him. I can't imagine they'll be quite that creative, or that they will steal our ideas, even though Those ideas are free source. They're open. You take
Nudge,
them.
nudge,
wink,
They're
wink.
there for everybody. We did that for a reason.
One more cameo note I want to briefly hover on before we move to other revealed characters is Goro, because we saw him again.
Oh,
Yes.
he looks so much better.
He looks way better. They fixed his face. They made him larger. He looks like
Yeah.
Goro now. I'm very pleased.
I'm breathing a sigh of relief over here. And you know, I still can't stand that outfit on him, but at least there's a uniform theme going on with
I'm
other
okay with the
characters.
outfit, and
I just don't
to
think he
be
should be wearing
fair.
pants. That's all.
yeah,
Just-
it is
no-
the
no
pants because I have drawn Goro wearing Reiko's armor because he was the general of the army in MK1. So I did if he was going to have an alt costume, that's what it should be. But I didn't put pants on him. He still had bare thighs.
He's got to wear
because-
he's got to wear the employee uniform, man. He's gonna get sent home if he doesn't have
recognize-
pants on.
Just imagining
NRS
Goro in various sets of slacks. khakis.
NRS may be they have their head in this weird space of cover everybody up, but the Shokan culture used to not wear a lot of clothes. That was a whole thing.
You have to
And-
imagine he'll get a classic alt.
Oh, yeah,
just
for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he will, but
It's too iconic to pass up. They wouldn't dare.
But yeah, it's a good call out.
Yeah,
and
just-
one other brief little note on cameos is we saw Sub has the white eyes now on his classic cameo.
I
So
have-
you'd
I
have to
have a
imagine
theory-
Scorpion will get his.
yeah, I have a theory that since the ninjas are palette swaps, they are literally sharing a model and changing the color like they used to do. So for Scorpion's eyes to be white, all of the ninja cameos would have to have white eyes. I think that's what's going on there. Because Sub-Zero
Probably.
is the only ninja cameo that we see in that trailer. We don't see Scorpions.
Yeah.
Well, I
yeah.
mean, it's a fix. It's a fix.
Yeah, I can live with that. If everybody has to have white eyes for Scorpion to have them, I'd rather that than the other way.
I'm used to the old Malibu
Scorpion
comics
with
where
pupils is not acceptable.
I'm used to the old Malibu comics where half the ninjas didn't have pupils anyways. Only Sub-Zero ever always
Yeah,
did.
there are lots
can-
of games where the ninjas, none of them have pupils. That's fine.
I can take the hint if Sub has to have no pupils for Scorpion to have no pupils this time. I'm all
Like-
right with that.
Scorpion has no pupils because he's got zombie cataracts. Sub-Zero can have no pupils because his eyes glow. Lots of people have superpowers that would make their eyes glow. It's not a big deal. As long as they don't have pupils, that's better than Scorpion having pupils.
But yeah, Goro looks better. I am 100% happy. I'm breathing a sigh of relief, just hoping for a classic, and it's generally really fucking good vibes right now.
Yeah, there's a lot to love with this trailer. Lin Kuei trailer was super hype and exciting, and I just feel like this is carrying that momentum in a lot of ways. So what's next
on to
up? So probably
Baraka?
we got Tanya and Baraka.
Let's do Baraka first, I think, because Tanya requires a bit of, I hate to say it, but griping.
Yeah.
Okay. Baraka, I mean, I got nothing but amazing things to say about Baraka, so I'll take the lead here, but I fucking love everything about what we saw with Baraka. I even like the new backstory of him being a merchant. I think that's gonna please anybody that makes the funny cartoon drawings. I need a lot of funny Baraka has wares memes. Just make him the Khajiit from Skyrim
you
and all
beat me
that.
to it. God damn it.
The Elder Scrolls. I want Baraka as a merchant. Drawings.
have wares if you have coin.
Exactly.
That's the best I got.
I want that. I like the idea. He just sounds like such a more honorable character. I like the idea of him standing up for his people. I think they kind of did something like that with MK11, and that's just kind of been a theme, but I feel like they're going to probably drive that even more forward as a more a bigger theme of this character. They alluded to that in his bio, how all of his people, the disease that they're dealing with, the Turcot disease that's killing them essentially, they're basically cast out like lepers, it feels like, and he is standing up for them saying, no, we are people too, and we deserve help, and so on and so forth. So I think that is a great way to take Baraka, and I look forward to hopefully a more neutral like actually smart and like just maybe a better good Baraka. He doesn't have to be like squeaky clean good guy Baraka. He could be like still be neutral, but it sounds like he's still going to do what's best for his people. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't see Baraka, and I never have seen Baraka as being inherently good or evil.
Right.
He's a person who like works, who is about the Tarkata and the cause and whatnot, and they fight for the strongest person. That usually being Shao Kahn or Shinnok and MK4 or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole angle with like him being there for his people is something that I can kind of get behind. That's good. Like his bio towards the end reads, he knows that as long as he fights, he will never truly be a victim. And I can see a lot of classic Baraka there. As much as it's weird for me to actually think of a phrase like, say, Merchant Baraka, which is as weird for me to think about just those two words in isolation as like Dr. Baraka was when Rebirth like showed up way, way, way back in the day, As far as the new beginnings for a character goes, I can kind of buy it. He doesn't seem too far off of what I'm used to seeing.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a complete total reinvention. There's a lot of like actual really like elements here, actually specifically his face and like the design of his general head, the pointiness of his ears. There's a lot of like Nosferatu about that, which is kind of lost a little bit in recent years.
Yes.
And yeah, it feels like it's back now.
This is
I look at this and like, yeah.
This feels like the closest to like MK2 Baraka, that original design that we've gotten in a long time.
The blades
especially
appear to
with
be
the
like
face.
steel and
Yeah, I think he has the
Yeah, I
metal
kind
blades
of-
again. Yeah.
I dig this. I really do. This is
Yeah.
an interesting take on him.
Yeah, I am super excited by this, and like beyond his design and his story, like that gameplay, man, his gameplay looked super sick. I loved every like the visual flair on his blades that they put, where it's like the swipes of like the red and yellow, like it feels like it's out of a different series. Like this feels like something out of like Street Fighter or something in terms of the actual effects on his attacks. And I think Mortal Kombat needs more of that, and I love that. I love the streaks as he's swinging his blades. It's way cooler than just like the transparent like air waves or whatever you want to call it. Like this looks so much cooler, looks so much more visually appealing aesthetic wise, and the moves he's doing and the combos, like there was one combo he was doing that felt like it went on forever. Like he was doing some crazy shit. And yeah, from a gameplay standpoint, he looks like a lot of fun. So I think Baraka fans have so many things to be happy about with this character right now.
Yeah, he also like he does appear to be a little bit more like gaunt and like thinner,
Right.
which is something that I've missed about him for a long time. Like he's been getting buffed and beefier
Yeah.
since like Deception
Yeah.
and into like 11. And I'm like,
11,
We're,
yeah, he's a beefcake.
yeah. So we're toning it back a bit. We're bringing a few of the more classic vampiric traits about the guy back, and I'm 100% about that. It's cool. Like, and I was not a huge fan in 11 of like all the bones and stuff coming out of his like flesh and skin and whatnot. But if it's a disease this time through, or what purports to be a disease, we'll see if it actually is. I can totally buy it because it does look horrific and sickly and gross and nasty. I think this is the best Baraka in quite some time.
Yeah, it feels like they took what worked in MK11 for him and tried to take that, but draw it more closer to like MK2 classic Baraka. They tried to find like a happy medium, and I think it works on a lot of levels. So yeah, I've got nothing but positive things on Baraka. I think it's not a character I was like super asking for, or I mean, I like Baraka, don't get me wrong. He's got a charm to him. He's kind of got like that reptile charm, just not to the same degree. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be 2 back-to-back appearances from Baraka that are really good. Like 11 did a lot of favors for this character.
I don't think he's ever been in 2 games in a row outside of like when there was a trilogy or an Armageddon.
That's a good
It's
point.
been a really long time, honestly. He had 2. Mist Ultimate was back for Trilogy, so that technically counts. Mist 4, but was in Gold, technically counts. was not in Deadly Alliance, popped up in Deception and Armageddon. So that's a back-to-back.
In Armageddon,
Well,
we don't
like I
really
said,
count.
like
but yeah.
if you don't count the all-in games, then he's usually every other game. He's
He
never
was in
been
versus
two in a
DC
row,
though.
I think.
Yeah, he
So,
was
yeah.
That's
Deception,
true. That's
Armageddon, DC,
9.
and then 9.
Oh yeah, he was in
So
a few there.
He had a streak. He
Yeah.
had a streak.
But yeah, I mean, it is a good observation though for like the standalone normal Mortal Kombat games. He did kind of have that on and off a game, basically, kind of like Reptile in that way. So yeah, this is it's cool though. Like I think this is awesome. So I'm curious where they take him. I hope he's not just like a jobber character that's just like in Mortal Kombat 9 where he just shows up to get beat up for a match. I feel like he's gonna have more of a relevance here, especially with the ties with Melina and the Turcotte disease or whatever. I think somebody pointed out that it looks like they were injecting something in the back of his neck, but somebody mention that there may not be injecting him. They may be pulling something out of him, like taking a sample.
I think they're taking a sample of blood or something.
Like for that disease to spread, or like this could be the origins of who is infecting Melina and all the chaos going on along. So yeah, I do want to make one note because I think this is a good point while we're here, because it's relative, but like I am absolutely loving the characterization that they're giving Melina this time. Like, is this the most story like where she's not just like, oh, I'm savage bitch, like, Harley Quinn mode? Like, this feels like they're actually giving her more of a tragic story where we're seeing it play out in front of our faces, not just through text. And they're setting her up to like really make you feel bad for this character where she ends up going. And I think that's kind of cool. Why is that?
Oh, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. You can tell me a lot of things. You can tell me Baraka's a sick dude. You can tell me that Smoke was an orphan whose parents were murdered. But I will never buy sympathetic Melina. It's not possible.
You don't think she's gonna be like a sympathetic character that like goes down a tragic path where she's gonna be a monster?
No. I think her being a monster is and always has been about more than what's on the surface of the face. Put it that way.
So you think even like you don't think that she doesn't know what's going on. You think she's truly just a monster. Like she is and putting on like a guise of her not being a monster.
Yep.
To trick everybody. Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. That's not what I'm expecting, but you could be right. You could, I mean, that is her character after all, but I don't know, like the way they're setting her up, all the cutscenes we see, and like you said, it could be absolutely a ruse, but like to me, like I feel like this is them trying to make her more than a one note like character. So
I think they already did as much of that as can be done in MKX, and this is hitting a lot of the same notes.
I don't think she ever really was a one-note character. I think that there always was a lot of depth
that's the
there.
other, like the one-noteness, like that's mostly just for the effect of MK9 being the first game to have like cutscenes that people gave a shit about.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely a factor for me, anyways.
Like old timeline Melina was always like a sad and pitiable and like pretty much the same character you see in X.
Right. Okay.
Always
we'll see how it plays out.
Why can't it be my turn? Why am I not allowed to be the one?
I want your status. I want your throne. I want this. And even when Shao Kahn comes knocking in Armageddon, when she's like successfully taken Katana's place and she has everything she's ever wanted, she's bitter that now she has to give it up to this asshole.
Like the circumstances of her birth and being second best and just a copy have never been her fault. So there's always been like that, but
tragic,
she's still a bad person.
Okay, interesting. Well, we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I just want to make note of that. Like from my perspective, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. But yeah, that's just from the only paying attention to the cutscenes type stuff, not reading reading the original timeline and all that shit too closely. But you made good points for sure that there's always been that kind of tragic side to a degree. But anyways, so back to Baraka. Anything else to note on Baraka, Razor? Or
I mean, I
temp,
didn't-
either way.
Temp's been quiet. Temp's been
Yeah,
quiet.
Tim can go ahead.
take it.
Well, I guess I don't have too much to say. I've never been a big Baraka guy, so my opinion doesn't hold that much weight. I actually don't quite like the costume too much. It's like he's wearing, like, his chest is like all the way out there, but he's still wearing most of a shirt. It just looks kind of weird. I don't really like the teeth coming out of his chest. I don't know, the shark teeth kind of splitting out from the side.
You don't like the gross horror stuff.
Well, but I like Deception Baraka. Even though that model is imperfect, even though his face looks kind of whack, I do like the idea of that costume. At least I would have liked to have seen something like that.
Well, that costume is for like a military general. It's breastplate armor, and this is made of scraps because he's living in a leper colony.
Yeah.
Well, even MK9 Baraka, I think, looked really good. Now, I understand MK9 Baraka wasn't a leper, but I still think a leper can look good, I guess is what I'm saying. That sounded very pompous. Like I said, I'm not like a huge Baraka fan. This did not sell me, I guess is what I'm saying.
I mean, from the outside looking in, if you're not a Baraka fan, it just looks like usual Baraka.
Yeah, more
like
Baraka.
Well, it's more Baraka than usual.
One of the things I like about it is that like you've got all these characters that are completely different people, and they're not recognizable at all in this new timeline. And here's Baraka looking like Baraka, and I'm like, that's the guy I wanted. Congratulations, you made Baraka. Thank you.
Less chest teeth.
Let's just. Bob,
I get where you're coming from with that. I don't personally have a problem with it, but I get it.
All right. Razor, did you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, no, I agree completely that he looks more like MK2 than he has in a long time, and I like that he's more gaunt and his face is more
Angular.
Like the ridges are more pronounced. I like that his the flesh around his mouth is more raw. I like that his eyes are red because it's been a long time since that. They're usually yellow, and I'm not a fan of the yellow.
They also look
like
more
that
sunken. Like his eyes in general look more sunken, like they used to be.
Yeah. It's just like Shad said, it's more Nosferatu than it's been in a bit. And they've been getting closer and closer each game. Like he was pretty good in 11, but I'm happy with this, and I agree with you. I really like the hot sparking streaks on all of his blade swinging moves.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love stuff like that. I mean, it just makes the gameplay look more interesting.
Yeah,
to look at.
He does some pretty sick shit when he's up in midair spinning around, and like there's some what's the character I'm thinking of that's
he does like the Wolverine where he does like the sonic spin essentially with his blades. Like that's essentially what he's doing.
I feel like I'm thinking of someone out of Soul Calibur or something. I don't know.
Voldo maybe.
There's something possibly. Yeah, there's something almost Voldo-esque about some of those air combos. A little bit.
He also does the cool one where he like lifts him up into the air and he's just doing like his stabby stab, but straight up.
Yeah, that was kind of neat.
That was pretty interesting. Yeah, I thought his combos looked sick. Somebody in our chat was just saying like they didn't think they thought his moveset was kind of weird. To me, like I thought his gameplay looked absolutely awesome.
Like I didn't necessarily see the blade spark or the flurry.
Yeah,
but,
like someone was saying that he has the spark and it looked interesting, but I didn't see it myself. I think that's what
anything.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like we're not seeing the chop, the spark, the blade thrust forward. We're not used to seeing the moves he's usually got, but I can't picture him not having.
Like I can't say that the fighting style didn't look like Baraka because it definitely did.
Yeah,
very savage. All right. Well, let's get to Tanya then, and then we'll get to the rest of the kind of stuff that we saw. But to cover this trailer specifically, let's get to Tanya.
Yes, let's get to Tanya.
So Tanya, just to kind of preface this, because we're going to have obviously a little bit more negative gripes, nitpicks, and stuff to get into. So if that turns you off, then this might be the time for you to tune out, because we've been like super positive for the last hour. So hopefully you stick with us, and it's not going to be all bad or anything. I have positive things to say about Tanya.
Come back in 15, maybe. I don't know. I think that we're all very confused about this.
But in
Little
terms
bit.
of like characters with radical changes or just being different, Tanya's got a little bit of that going, especially with her gameplay. So we're gonna get into that. But
Yeah, they have created a new character and named it Tanya.
I don't know who this is anymore, and it's a problem that is not new to this game.
I think it's so
really.
strange that like you take a character like Kameo Darrius or playable Lee May or Boraicho in X, and you like they try so hard to keep the old moves, even when the old moves maybe didn't necessarily have the flavor that they should have had. But what is it about Tanya where they're like, no, we got to throw all this out and start over?
I see the
I
cannon
saw
drill.
her- yeah, she
The
has
cannon drill is there,
there.
but I don't see anything else. And it's, if it was one thing or another, that's it. Like, I can understand wanting to maybe change a couple of your moves and keep the core of the character's personality or visuals intact. Or the reverse. I can see you maybe wanting to revamp a character's visuals, but keep them recognizable in terms of their moveset. And I'm seeing very little of Tanya in either front. I'm still crossing my fingers. But I think that one of the things that gets me is some characters don't and never have needed weapons.
Yeah.
Tanya was crap with a Kobo Jutsu and Deception. It was terrible. She never sold using a Naginata in X. It just wasn't necessary. Especially now that, like, Sindel's been branded as the Naginata person, okay? Sindel's gonna be in this game. She's gonna have a Naginata. So it feels like, let's just give Tanya a different weapon. Again. And again, like Boomerang.
It feels like a running joke. Like somebody thought it was funny that we're like, Boomerang, and then the Tonfas, and then the Pogo Stick. What can we do different this time?
Like if she actually is supposed to be a weapons master and that's her role, sure, but establish that. But
no, she's never actually a weapon master though. She's always
she's not.
one weapon at a time.
And always a different one, and it feels like it contributes to like this character not having much of a continuity.
Yeah, there's no like what is Tanya? Because if it's different every game, then you can't say Tanya is anything.
When I think of Tanya, I think of two things primarily. I think of a self-interested survivalist trader, first and foremost, in terms of personality. I think of Cammy crossed with Chun-Li crossed with Akuma in terms of gameplay. She's like the Street Fighter character made manifest in Mortal Kombat. That's how she always felt to me. And, like, I don't know, we're just... I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about like how there may be some suspicious things about Lee May failing to protect the king, whatever. When I think of Tanya, the word that always comes to my mind is treachery. This is a person that can't be trusted,
right,
and it doesn't really matter to me. It's nice that she's kind of maybe Melina's companion now, but that's not like the crux of her character.
It's possible, like, I think we'll find out that she, like, set Lee May up to not be there when Jared was getting killed so that she could steal Lee May's job. And I think that's where we'll see the traitor aspect.
I think she pulled the trigger.
That's
if
possible,
not her,
too.
if not her, then Melina. It's one of the two of them.
I don't want to get into leaks, but Jared might not even be dead.
Fair enough.
That'd
be interesting twist.
Something.
We'll see where that's going, but I think Tanya did have something to do with it, and that's where we'll see like the recognizable aspect of the character. But I just wish that we saw it in her moveset, because when I think of Tanya, I think of MK4 and I think of the Pyromancer variation.
Yeah,
So
like it feels like they nailed it
weapons.
there.
And to be fair, like, I would have liked a 3-section staff character, but I would have made him like a Shaolin monk or something. This is something you put on a new character. That would have been really interesting to see. I don't recognize what I'm seeing as Tanya, and that's the problem.
Well, I think what's frustrating for me is that a lot of people have been saying that Tanya's moveset has always been nebulous, and that's true. But I feel like Pyromancer was a home run. I thought Pyromancer was a good variation.
Yeah,
that would have been an excellent basis. And that variation is famous outside of the Mortal Kombat community, because when they released Tanya back in 2015, they did it right before CEO in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And there were, I think, up to 5 Tanyas in top 8. And like... So that's where the name that's where the meme Top Tanya comes from. I don't know why she has one teleport. She has one pyromancer teleport in the trailer. I finally found it.
Yeah,
while you
she
were
does have her
talking.
teleport thing from MKX, it seems like.
I need to see more. If that's all I can do, that's disappointing because she was. No, I'm not. I don't want to make it like as broken as it was, but it used to be really cool, and it's kind of underwhelming right now. But we'll see.
I do want to jump in here because I do have actual things that I liked personally, but that comes from a place that Tanya's never been like one of my favorite characters, so I don't have like a horse in the race, so to speak. Like to me, I don't disagree with anything like the criticisms thus far. You're absolutely right, and I think it is a case of like Tanya has no identity in ever, like they change her so much from game to game that it has to be like a running gag situation where they're like, let's just reinvent this wheel every single time with maybe just the most minor of carryover stuff. But from my perspective, at least, what I did see, I thought it was all right. Like I didn't hate like the three parted staff or whatever the hell it's called. That's a little weird. That's kind of a weird weapon to give her specifically, I feel. So yeah, I don't think that's the best fit, like Razor was saying. But one thing I really did like, there's a couple of things. I love the twisty kick thing she did in the air. I just thought that was a really cool animation. Like the twirling, you know what I'm talking about? Like the split kick basically in the air, twisting split kick.
The helicopter
Yeah,
with the fire effects.
That to me, I was like, okay, that's something I could see Tanya doing. She's got the drill. Like I could totally see her doing that. Kind of reminds me of like her spinning around and breaking your neck multiple times and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, she likes to spin. Like that's okay, there's a thing. Like, okay, I can dig that. I also liked the kind of, was it like a Hindu thing, like with the multiple hands, like the magic hands coming up. Like I like that kind of aesthetic. That I don't know if it's the best fit for her or not. That I can't speak to, but I think that is really cool for her.
Like I think that fits the staff, but I would have given that and the staff to a brand new character.
Sure. And that I can understand. But yeah, either way, I like those aesthetics. I like that kind of archetype because to me that's just it looked cool. Really, like there's been so much debate in the community, like does her hair need to change and all that, and like I don't want to get into any like the racial stuff because I've seen all the arguments. It was going on for like 30 minutes during my stream.
Yeah, none of that is really what bothers me. Like
that's all just
remember,
bullshit. I think people need.
think...
No, I want to hold on. Let me finish this because I think it's important. People need to really grow up because like. Guys,
you're going to talk about the Reddit stuff.
Well, there's a point I want to make, which is that if you, like, when you're looking at a character in one of these modern NRS games and you're thinking their face looks ugly, that might not necessarily be reflective of the face actor who's, the face that they captured. Because remember, Shiva, the actress was way more attractive than Shiva's face in the game was. Sure. So I don't think Tanya's face is bad. I think the faces in this game are weirdly animated and rubbery compared to the ones in 11. Like I actually think, and this may be something that improves in the final product because we are potentially seeing unfinished footage.
Right. We've already seen some of that improvement.
Now, the graphics and the animation on everybody's faces seems a little stretchy and characterized to me compared to the ones in 11. And I've been thinking this since we saw Johnny.
Yeah,
like,
I was going to use that as an example.
Yeah.
I think Johnny's face was kind of that first example of like, that looked kind of weird. And I didn't even have a problem with his face, but just that expression that he made looked a little off.
Whenever in these story mode trailers, they do like an extreme close up on anybody. Like it's like a fisheye lens thing is happening. Their faces get weird when you zoom in. And I don't think it's like, that's not it's not to say that these people look bad. It's just that there's something going on with the graphics.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't, it's not a character thing. It's just sometimes this could be, I think it kind of goes back all the way to like I think back to Injustice. Like we saw some weirdness with like Supergirl early, and like they take this footage from not exactly the most polished builds because they gotta get this stuff put together, and then usually by release, a lot of that stuff is completely ironed out. So that's why I'm not even worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, I
As
certainly
for like
hope
the
so.
hairstyle, like they're gonna have multiple hairstyles in different outfits. So if you're like a fan of the classic Tanya hairstyle, I wouldn't be surprised if we get that. I saw somebody on Twitter make like all sorts of different like mock-ups of like different hairstyles that represent Black women, properly, and I thought they all looked really good. So I'm hoping we get like a good variety of that. So I just don't think
Yeah, I've seen
that's something
like
to get all bent out
edits-
of shape over, or like
I
plant
think
your
like
flag on.
I think the core of it is that we're used to seeing kind of like a Wicked Witch type in yellow galoshes, and like
Well,
now we're basically seeing the Dora Milaje out of like the Black Panther films. It's a large visual drift, is I think the core of it.
Yeah, I think so. Like narratively, it kind of. So I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I usually really like when they base a character off of a movie. But there's a difference between basing a character off of a movie and basing an entire plot off of a movie. And that's what I feel like stealing the Black Panther bodyguards is. I think ripping off whole cloth an entire section of the Black Panther mythos and grafting it onto Outworld is really weird and cringe. It's definitely not what I would have wanted to see for the new lore of this. Like, I don't necessarily care what they do with this new universe, honestly, but that definitely doesn't help win me over. But as far as like just the hair loops and that kind of thing, I don't really care because she's gonna have alternate costumes.
Yeah.
And I have like,
Never
people
wears the
talk
same hair
about
twice.
the face and the hair as two separate issues, but I think the face has looked a lot better in the Photoshop edits I've seen where they stuck the Tanya's traditional Cleopatra bangs on there,
Right.
or gave her the white eyes. I think that has been an improvement to that face. So, these elements do sort of interplay with each other, and I don't know. We'll see with the alt costumes. It is going to be kind of weird to be like playing as like a retro skin Tanya using that staff. Like that is going to feel out of place and strange even more so.
I hope her hair is gear. We'll have like a whole like closet full of wigs to choose from. That'll be great. she honestly, she never wears the same hair twice. Anyway,
Yeah, anything else to add on to Tanya? It sounds like from like a bio perspective where her and Melina are still going to be a couple, so that's kind of cool that they're carrying that over from the comics.
Yeah.
And
as
treacherous,
just
it seems like the seeds
as
are probably
long-
there.
As long as at the end of the day she puts a dagger in someone's back, I'm cool. That's the Tanya I know. Fuck
Right.
you. I'm out.
I would prefer if the dagger was purple and on fire, but
I'll burn you with, my dear. So should we move on to
So we've got
the part that the public didn't see?
Yeah, let's talk about that, and then we'll kind of close out with like
Let's.
DLC and stuff.
Yes.
But so take the reins, Shed.
I feel like the thing that speaks to the most about it, for those of us who have seen it, maybe people don't, but there was a little bit that was not broadcast to the public. A whole ass scene out there where Liu Kang and Li Mei are talking in a carriage, and they're being drawn along, and carriage gets stopped, and we see a couple of very familiar pairs of legs coming down, and 4 of those 6 legs are horse legs, and 2 of those legs belong to Reiko. And like you can, the thing I love about that is like in these leaked videos, you can just hear people going, "Oh my god!" And there's this one girl who's like, "Okay," I love it. She's like, "Really?" That's what we're all thinking. Really? They brought him back, and then like the camera shifts and you see Reiko coming towards, and people just start going nuts. It's a double fist to the face of people we've wanted to see so long finally come back together. And I couldn't be happier, man. I'm smiling now thinking of it. I'm so fucking happy. And like I like how Reiko's voice sounds, and this is the thing I want to get up. First things first about Reiko. Because we're talking here about all the changes to Tanya and how Rain is a wizard, Harry, and all this stuff now. Reiko walks up to the camera, and it's just Reiko. It's like they sat down and they went, they've been looking forward to this guy, they've been wanting this guy back for 20 years. Don't fuck with it. And it's perfect. Like, he sounds like all snooty and superior, and I like his voice, and oh man.
I haven't actually seen the clip to hear his voice yet.
You fucking what, mate?
Well,
Are you having a giggle?
I've only been awake for 30 minutes.
Oh my god.
There was no footage yesterday. There was just still images.
You need to do this. You need to do this while Cyborg or Temp talk. You
All
really
right.
do, because
Yeah.
I don't want to describe the Motaro shit till you've seen it. My god, man.
All right, hang on.
But yeah, I'll jump in here. Reiko looks, I mean, he looks like Reiko, like in terms of characters being like completely redesigned. Once again, Reiko looks like, you know, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it's like if Lee May is anything to go off of what we should expect from the remaining 3D era characters to be reintroduced into this series in this game, if that's anything to go by of what we should be expecting, then we're in good hands. Like we should be excited and feel a sense of relief, as Temp was saying earlier. I think Reiko is the second proof of that, because he is Reiko. Like, he looks like Reiko straight out of like Armageddon, but just, you know, more modernized. But I mean, that is very much Reiko when you look at him. There's no mistaking that. He doesn't look like they went and tried to change him into something completely different. He sounds like what you would expect him to sound like. This character, I'm excited to see him in a high quality environment, not on somebody's potato phone that they just their flip phone that they recorded this footage on. It is very low quality, but yeah, he looks good and he sounds good. So I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing more, and that's just another one we can put in the I think they're going to nail it camp. So I'm very excited. As for Motaro, like without describing what little thing he does, like it looks like
hard.
Motaro.
It's just, I mean, okay.
Looks
I
like
will
classic
say-
Motaro.
I will say he looks a little bit less beefy than I was expecting,
Sure.
but there's no doubt once he starts getting into action that Seabiscuit's in the house. It's fucking wonderful. Just no shits given, starts going to town on people, horse style.
Yeah.
And I know I will never have this as a playable character again. Cameos are the best I'm ever going to get, but I'll take it, one way or another. What I'm really wondering about is how, he's around, Goro's around, and if we're judging by Goro and Reiko's outfits, they both definitely seem to be working for like the House of Melina, or whoever you want to call it. How on earth are Goro and like Motaro on the same like force and not like tearing each other's throats out? I hope that they delve into that a little bit.
They almost give like a buddy cop vibe in the little bit that we see, and I like it.
I'm seeing people going like, Reiko should have come in riding on Motaro, and I'm like, I can't disagree. I feel like the horse would have some problems with that.
I feel
But-
like if I was a centaur, I would not let people ride me. That
No,
would feel disrespectful.
But
No,
this
you gotta
does need to
sneak
be
in
like
there and just pull it off. That's why it's great.
this does need to be like an oil painting though. Like Motaro reared back on his hind legs, kicking in the air, flexing his biceps, and like Reiko carrying the banner of Shao Kahn or whoever the fuck. I'll pay for this.
Like, they
I
got
wanna
to
see it
make
happen.
bets, and if Reiko wins the bet, then he gets to ride Motaro around. Like, that has got to be a thing.
Oh man, I'm so beyond thrilled. I hope he's got the ninja stars. I hope he's got the wheel kick. Because they really seem to have gone, let's take everything that we actually loved about this guy and keep it intact. I don't think he has pupils. It's hard to tell from the video out there, but
Yeah,
he
he
seems
looks
to have
like all white eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which surprises me. And I love it. I love to see it.
It is hard to get proper white eyes in the NRS era. Like even
I'm
even
not
on Liu
looking to
Kang, you can see like there are pupils. They're glowing, but
But they look cool when he's in the dark and like he's just kind of it's close enough to like the classic no pupil look that I'm fine with it.
Right. Yeah, I would
So,
say
I mean,
the only
that's-
thing I'm hoping from him is I really love the white, like the Mr. Fantastic hair, like with the white temples on the grade temples, whatever you want to call it. So I hope we get that hairdo as like one of his alternates. But I mean, as like a base, as like what we're getting for standard Reiko is exactly what you would hope for this character thus far. So yeah, it's great. Temp, anything?
Well, I'm not a big Reiko fan, but I have a lot of friends who are big Reiko fans. So if he looked bad, that would have been my week. So I'm super glad he doesn't look bad. But it's cool to see him back. He's one of those characters, and I feel this way about a lot of Street Fighter characters, even characters who I don't necessarily love, but they need to be there. And Reiko is like second to top on that list. Motaro is not on any list because Motaro doesn't do lists. But I hope he's not a cameo. I hope he's playable. Unlikely, but it seems like he's not just going to be a chameleon in the background. He seems a little more important than that. So I would hope Motaro. Did I say Motaro?
No, you did. I was just confirming.
Okay. I was hoping to have a Kintaro Freudian slip set. So yeah, that's
yeah, he's probably not playable just because that would be really. I would have to imagine that's super hard to play to pull off. But what we could be seeing is his front half is playable, but his back legs are the cameo.
back legs DLC.
Oh Lord, don't give him ideas now.
Oh man, dude.
Like,
back leg cameos.
Let me just fucking bask in it for a moment because I'm thinking about it. I have Smoke, I have Reiko, and I got Mr. Horse. I got Mr. Red.
And you got Quan Chi.
And I got
Yeah, as a cameo, like that's sick. Shout outs to Down Ferality. Obviously, he's not with us during this episode, but he's already gone on record saying he knows who his current main and cameo combo are going to be, and that is Reiko as his main and Motaro as his cameo. So he's excited as well. And I shout outs to wherever Django's at. He's a big Reiko guy as well, and Takeda. So I would imagine he's pretty excited too.
Summer of Reiko. It's Reikin time. That was terrible.
Yeah, don't say
that.
that.
I'll stop that. I'll stop that now. Sorry, I'm uncommonly really happy about a lot of things right now.
And I mean this is I obviously we don't know until all the chips are on the table or all the cards are on the table and we've had time to sit with it and get in our own hands and all that, and it's the dust has settled. But I've been saying for a while now I have a good feeling that this could be one of the best, and they are continuing to deliver content that I feel like is further building up that possibility. I won't say it's confirmed by any means. Obviously, it all comes down to execution and follow through. But right now, they're hitting on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders. So it's good.
People are asking in the chat if Motaro is a cameo or story exclusive. We really just don't know.
Yeah,
right now
we don't know.
We're assuming he's a cameo because I feel at this point in history, only lunatics would assume that Motaro would be playable on a select screen in 2023. But we're sure he's a cameo of some kind. That's all we can really say.
It goes back to Ed Boon's tweet where he said something like, there will be even cameos of characters that weren't possible to be playable before, or something like that, to that nature. And I don't know who else that screams other than Motaro. Motaro seems to be the one that everybody
there have been so many like teases and hints and leaks and rumors about cameo Motaro that I would be surprised if it was story mode only.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. We do have a super chat here that we should jump to. Ryan Chan, thank you very much. Ashra needs to be a cameo of her running people over with a motorcycle. Now, as long as she's playable, I'm all down to have her get a cameo too. But yes, give us a skin from Cage Match, and if you want to give her a motorcycle somewhere in there too, I wouldn't be upset. Just for the gag. But yeah, she was kicking ass in that cage match. That was just crazy to see her on that motorcycle. I don't know what the hell I would expect her to drive. I think somebody asked me in the chat during my stream, "What do you want her to drive, a minivan?" And I'm like, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know what I expect Ashra to drive. Just never thought I'd see her on a motorcycle.
Do we want to like jump into Cage Match now, then talk about the combat pack, or like vice versa?
Let's just run through the combat pack real quick, because there's not so much to say about that.
Yeah, there's the obvious elephant in the Ermac in the room, but
yeah,
we've known about this for a while.
Yeah, it was one of those things that got.
Oh, we've known about the names, yeah.
Well, I'll start off. I'll just say,
and
well, then we all stopped for a second, then we all rushed through.
We're all like, how do we break this to them about what we really think here? Okay, Cyborg, you go.
Well, it's fine. I was just gonna say the comic book characters are fine. Like whatever. Like I don't have a strong opinion. I mean, we've gone on record as not being like super into the guests, so I don't personally have any stake in them. My stance has always been, they're gonna be there, so it's whatever. Like I've just accepted it at this point. But my biggest like main factor when it comes to like guests and DLC in general overall is like, you give me a great starting roster. If you give me a great base roster, one that's like in the A tier of rosters, I really don't care at that point. Like then the DLC I don't feel as strongly about needing to be one thing or another. And that's kind of what I feel like we're getting so far, is we're getting a very, very good roster. Possibly, if it all pans out as we hope it does, possibly one of the best rosters that they've ever done. And if that is the case, then like I don't like DLCs, whatever to me. I still have some hopefuls for like the cyborgs and, you know, like Serena if she doesn't make base, or like a Fujin type, those kind of characters that I feel like still would be great to see. But beyond that, like guess so I don't have a whole lot of opinions on like Omni-Man, Homelander, or Peacemaker. Peacemaker could be fun just for the John Cena bullshit, funny interaction. Still just be like another quip kind of character like Johnny Cage. So I could see that being kind of fun. As for the Mortal Kombat characters chosen, Quan Chi, Ermac, and Takeda, I think are tremendous options. Like those are great choices, because when I've done the top 20 characters, Bresk and I did one off a poll that he ran, and then I ran my own poll of like the top 20 or 30 characters, whatever it was, and I think it was 20. And both times, Quan Chi, Takeda, and Ermac were all like in that top list or right close to it. So I think those are good picks. So I don't have like, in terms of the characters like that were chosen, I think they're solid Mortal Kombat characters to choose. Good variety. You have your like trilogy one in Ermac. You have your 3D era, I guess, in quotation, with Quan Chi, if you want to include Mortal Kombat 4 in there, even though he's been included in a lot of stuff. And then you have Takeda as the combat kid one of the more popular combat kids that didn't return for 11. So I think it's kind of cool to see him back. And then the big thing is like their designs, and that's the thing. Like we could really take Ermac to task. I will say a lot of people have already shit on the Ermac thing. I think the biggest thing to me, and I think most agree, is it really just needs a mask. That goes a long way into redeeming that design. There's already been some mock-ups with the mask added onto it, and I think it looks a lot better. It's still not perfect, in my opinion. A lot of us don't prefer the mummy direction that they take him. I miss the wraps on his face, though. But yeah, he needs a mask. Definitely needs a mask, because right now he has like a skinny dark side thing going on. Back to that old funny comic picture drawing that somebody put together where they like talked about his hoodie and he never took that hoodie off. Like that's what he's coming across as. But I will say these characters aren't coming for like another 3 to 4 months until we get the first one, and then they're gonna probably be like every 1.5 to 2 months after that. We'll get one more character, and then another character after that, and then after that. So if the order that we saw listed in the trailer didn't explicitly say that's the order they're releasing, but if that is true, because I don't know why they would have ordered the names how they did, Ermac was in like the last half of them. So Ermac could be a good, like we may not see Ermac until like next February or something. So that design could be very underbaked still. That's all I'm gonna say. Is these designs could still have a lot of time to respond to feedback, like adding a mask to Ermac. Plenty of time to still make that happen. So I hope they do. That's all I really have to say on all that.
All right, well, I'll go next. Anyone who knows me knows I don't give a shit about guest characters, so I'm not going to waste my breath discussing a single one of them. We've known about this this combat pack for a couple months now, I think now, and I've always thought it was a pretty safe set of roster choices. You know, there's still that silly little part of me that's hoping for something like a Dramin or like a Suhao. I know it's not going to happen. Like a Serena, you know, something really cool, but like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure, Ermac's gonna sell, Quan Chi is gonna sell, Takeda's gonna sell. I find the most interesting part of this combat pack to be Quan Chi, and I kind of think he looks like a bland version of his MKX self, and that's all I really gotta say. Like, I've never been a Takeda fan. Like, he was always my least favorite combat kid, and now he just looks like he's wearing a Morton Joe's mask, and I'm like, hey, good for his fans. Cool.
Morton Joe, I think that's a good one.
It's what it is, man. And there's that, and you've covered everything I wanted to say about Ermac pretty much, and I hope too that they just at least put a fucking mask on it, because he looks like shit. There's no other way around it. The whole thing about him having bandages over and around his face dating back to Deception and 9 was that he was a collection of souls in like either a loose bodysuit or like fake skin or something. And it's like someone went, hey, you know what else has some bandages? Some mummies. And he's just sort of fucking turning into fucking Mum-Ra and getting more sick and emaciated and mummy looking every game. And it's like, this is a sack of souls. This is a sack of shit. I'm sorry, it's terrible. Give the man a Big Mac. He's hungry. He's emaciated. He's dying. Put a mask on him. Give him his deception all back, for God's sake.
Feed this guy another soul already. Jeez.
Stop
the
doing
thing
this
that
to
I find
him.
interesting
He's
is
been
that
getting worse and worse.
it's not just us. Like, it's not just like the hardcores who feel this way. Like, I've seen across Twitter and Reddit, nobody likes Mummy Ermac.
Everyone hates it.
Everybody across the board seems to believe, like, as we do, that Deception Ermac was the best design and MKX was the worst.
I'm a
And
big
yet
fan of
they've
MK9
done on
primary,
one.
but yeah, it's similar to Deceptions. Yeah,
that nose poking out of his face was the start in those rappers, man. It was the start. That was everything. There's nothing there anymore. Like, God, just hashtag Deception Ermac outfit, please. Everyone hates this. It's awful. Mummy Ermac needs to drop dead. It's one of the worst design choices you can possibly make. I can't believe I'm looking forward to Quan Chi the most out of an entire combat pack. That's where I am now. Good for you, Takeda fans. Happy for you.
Well, that's a good segue, because really, I mean, I don't have much to say on Ermac. It's the worst ninja design I've ever seen. That pretty much sums everything I think about DLC Ermac. But I'm actually really impressed with Takeda, and I don't think I'm the majority here. I actually think it looks pretty good. And it may just be the lighting, but if that's gray I see in his hair, I wonder if they're doing some sort of cable storyline with Takeda. I think that could be really interesting if this is a much older Takeda, and Liu Kang kind of screwed him over.
Like, Kenshi can't have an adult son, and also he's still wearing the Shirai Ryu logo, and the Shirai Ryu don't seem to be a thing in this timeline, so he has to be from the previous timeline.
Yeah, there's some sketchy stuff going on there.
So, like, a darker Takeda, especially doing that with a comic relief, I think is very interesting. And I think the costume looks good. If you operate under the assumption that's from the far, far future, I think it looks okay. You just have to kind of... It looks like he has, like, robot eyes on his chest. And his whole chest is like a ninja mask. If you can kind of get past that, I think it looks really good. I like the idea a lot of a comic relief who's been horribly weathered. I think that's cool if that's what they're doing. But if they're not, I like how Scorpion he is. He's very Skull Scorpionish. I think that's what you should do with a Takeda model. I like it a lot. No thoughts on Quan Chi. I've always been very neutral on Quan Chi at best. And Ermac is just whatever. No, not whatever. Ermac's terrible. What's up?
That's just me with Takeda. Like I am actually happy for his fans, but I've never liked the whips and the sparks, and like it's very busy. I've just never been a fan of that character or the design. So
yeah, Quan Chi's very popular, so I'm
for you.
super happy to. What's up?
No, go on.
Well, I'm glad Quan Chi's there because I know it's going to make a lot of people happy, so that's a win for me. Ermac made nobody happy, and like you, I just don't have anything to say about the guests. But
I like Quan Chi. I like Quan Chi, and I'm glad that he looks like Quan Chi, and they didn't fuck him up.
Yeah,
he does.
That covers all my thoughts, though.
I've seen people go like, "There's too many belts going on over his chest. He looks like one
Yeah,
of those like
I mean his
Castlevania
outfit,
characters."
His outfit looks like an AI art imitation of his MKX outfit. Like it's just bland and boring. I hope he has a good alt, but he still looks like Quan Chi. He does look like a different character with Quan Chi's name, the way Rain and Tanya do.
I'm a little bit concerned about like the spikes on his shoulders because I feel like he's about to crack his neck and stab himself in the temple. It's hard to tell from that angle, but
yeah, his spikes are like pointed towards his ears. If he tilts his head in either direction, he's going to stab himself.
Be very careful. Be very, very careful when you're summoning your bats and shit.
He's going to have to do the Michael Keaton Batman turn.
Just all shoulders.
I don't mind the Quan Chi design. The more like Cenobite, you kind of like direction you take it, or like Necromancer. I'm into all that stuff, but yeah, I feel like maybe it's a little plain. I don't know, but once again, I'm not gonna like judge this stuff too hard because I still feel like this is way earlier than they usually show this off. Like they don't typically show the first combat pack characters, especially their models walking up and all that stuff 2 months before the game comes out. That's usually later on. At least with 11, they waited till after the game was out, like a month or two after that, I think. I don't know. I don't remember the timeline, but I just know they usually don't show it this early. So it feels like they just kind of wanted to pull the trigger while they were at Comic-Con, since they have comic book characters as the guests. So they're kind of like trying to capitalize on that synergy-wise. So I feel like they're showing these off way earlier than normal. So I expect these to be touched up a lot and made more, interesting and more polished. So that's why I'm not going to not judge it too hard. But yeah,
I heard Ed say at the panel, like I haven't seen footage of him saying it, so I don't know if this is accurate or not, but somebody said that at the panel he said that they're going in a quote-unquote new direction with Ermac, which they would have to do in this timeline because Shao Kahn can't have created a guy out of a bunch of stolen souls if Shao Kahn's not currently an emperor who has conquered a lot of places and stolen a lot of souls.
I mean, he's still got like the glowing green eyes going on.
Maybe Mummy is the direction. Maybe he just, instead of being comprised of a bunch of souls, maybe he's like an undead, like he's a dead warrior of the past, like Mystic or whatever, that got brought back to life. So he himself is a mummy. I could easily see that be the reason.
If that's the case, then you can kiss the catchmaphrase "We are Ermac" goodbye, because he's got no reason to say that anymore.
That's
true.
Like,
it's going to be a different character. So many of the characters in this game are different people. They just have the names and some vague appearance similarities. That's what you get when you make a new timeline from scratch. And whether or not you like that is going to be different for every person. I personally don't like, alternate universes. But I've said that before.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I don't want to jump to any conclusion. It could be anything. It could still be comprised of souls and still be Ermac. He just got there a different way. Who knows? But
Just feed him. He looks hungry.
Cage match then?
Yes.
Cage match.
Item on our docket.
All right,
Cage
take
match.
the lead. Take the lead. This is more your thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved what I saw, but go for it.
Razor, you do it. You take the lead on this because I know that you're all about this shit.
Yeah. So I mean, except for Snowblind, I have really loved the Legends movies. I think it's it's gonna sound stupid because I just said I don't like alternate universes. But my favorite thing in Mortal Kombat isn't the games; it's the adaptations. I mean, to be fair, I like the adaptations best when they hew closer to the source material, or when they add something that could be part of the source material. Like, I love in Defenders of the Realm that it established, oh, the Lin Kuei Grandmaster's name is Oniro. Now, in the games, it has not been Oniro yet. I don't know if it ever will be Oniro, but it should be. Like, that's just helpful information that doesn't get in the way of anything. Why not? So like, what I love about Cage Match, other than like it looks like a lot of fun, and I am a big '80s guy because that's the decade I was born in, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I did the math on so Johnny Cage was like 29 years old in MK1, and MK1 set in 1992. So his career would have started in the 80s. And that's not to say that this movie could be canon, because they're doing some crazy stuff with Shinnok and the Brotherhood and Ashra that probably did not happen in the Midway timeline. But, it could have.
I just want to say that Joel McHale is a national treasure for the Mortal Kombat community. I never want him to stop being Johnny Cage, ever. He sells everything. It's magnificent. There's just and there are just so many like lines in this thing in like the space of the 2 minutes of the Red Band trailer about him being aroused by things.
The Red Band trailer, I gotta say, was like, I watched the regular trailer first for Cage Match, and I was like, okay, this looks all right. Like, I'm still gonna watch it. It still looks interesting. But then when I watched the Red Band trailer right after that, as soon as that went up, I'm like, okay, this is the trailer. Like, this is what sells this movie. You can't have like all this shit without the profanity and all the bullshit, added on top of it. It was really good.
There's just so much like it's all about like the cheesy line and like the dialogue delivery and the punchlines, and Joel sells it so fucking well.
It's such a good premise. Like, how do you take like the mundane real world of like Johnny Cage in Hollywood, California, and add Mortal Kombat stuff to it? And they went, well, what if he stumbled upon some secret Hollywood cult that was connected to the Brotherhood and Shinnok, and they were summoning demons, and it makes perfect sense. And you've got
Mortal Kombat, Vice City, City of Angels. It's wonderful.
Gilbert Gottfried is voicing some Hollywood executive who's like the Satanist in the cult,
and it's like it's supposed to be his last role I think he ever recorded.
Yeah, before he died, because he like died 2 years ago or something.
You just said that in a weird way.
No, like it's true. It has been about 2 years or so since the man passed.
Well, he's been dead for long enough that it's surprising there's still stuff with him in it that hasn't come out yet.
Right.
I was watching the Red Band trailer, and Jen looks over and she's like, What? Really? As soon as she heard his voice, she was surprised.
Yeah. And
Ashra on a fucking motorcycle, Gilbert Gottfried, Joel McHale, Johnny Cage, erections. This movie has it all.
Yeah, when the movie was first announced, they said that the plot is that Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing is his co-star in a movie, and she's been kidnapped, and he's trying to rescue her. And it looks like in this trailer she's in the cult. I just love that they took like a real world person, and they're like, okay, in this movie you worship Shinnok. Go.
October can't come soon enough. I'm loving everything I'm seeing so far. Ashra on a bike.
Kia and Jataka has me excited because it's been a really long time since anybody like gave enough of a fuck to put them in something.
Yeah,
that they put Kia on the cover is just insane to me. Like, that's just
yeah.
Who would have expected that?
I really hope that the kind of buzz that's around this game encourages them to maybe see if they can shove in some Kia Jataka DLC cameos down the road, because I'd be all about that shit.
I like so apparently like Ashra is like undercover in the human world, and I love how they've like 80'd up her character design. She's got like the new wave musician hairstyle and the giant
Yes.
shoulder pads on her white outfit. It looks good. It looks like a lot of fun. It just looks, enjoyable. And that's the thing that's what I felt was missing from Snowblind that had me so angry at that movie, is that because it has like a downer ending and it's so deep into the depressing world of the post-apocalypse and Kano being such a like getting away with his crimes through so much of it. It was just a really like downer. It was not a joyful experience. It was very bleak.
I don't know if I see where you're coming from. I don't think it was as bleak as all that. There's a lot of like deadpan, snarky delivery and like
Yeah, I
ridiculous
mean, there's a lot
horse
of
shit
like
going
dark,
on.
there's a lot of black humor in it, but it really bums me out when a movie has an unhappy ending.
I mean, there's some moments, like all that matters is this chicken. That's gonna be one of my top Sub-Zero quotes going forward for the rest of my life. I'm never gonna let that go. That's hilarious.
It was exceptionally dark and gruesome, and then it left the world in a ruined state where they could have used the fucking hourglass to fix it, and there's no explanation why they don't. And Sub-Zero just abandons Kenshi, and Kenshi's standing there. He's missing most of the fingers on his hands, so he's not even a good swordsman anymore. And it's like, good luck fixing the world by yourself, buddy. I'm going to hell. He hated it. But this looks like it's just gonna fill my heart with joy. It just looks fun.
Right.
I hope you get what you search for.
I have seen like
Any-
there's been people asking or complaining, like, you've got Kia Jataka and Ashra in this movie, why not
Where
Serena?
is Serena?
And I would suggest that it's because, look, if you're going to put Ashra in the role of the former Brotherhood member who is now against them and is the good guy, then you can't have her and Serena both doing that. And Serena, like, they don't want to, for a lot of people in the audience, this is going to be the first time they're ever seeing most of these characters, particularly Kia Jataka. So if a person is not familiar with Serena, and your introduction to Serena is just like that she's standing there with Kia Jataka and she gets killed in the movie because she's a bad guy, then that's going to give those people the impression that Serena is a bad guy, and they don't want to do that, so they left her out instead of painting her in the wrong light.
I think that there's still
I'm
room for
fine
her to
with
like
it.
make an appearance in the background or as in like one scene back in hell. She's got to be
Yeah,
somewhere.
She could have
But
a
she's-
cameo somewhere.
She's a character who is kind of inextricably tied to Sub-Zero, whichever one you want to choose from. But I actually I'm not upset at all about Serena not being in this thing, because I feel like you give Kia and Jataka some time to shine too. I've also wanted to know more about
it
them.
does allow them to sort of step out of Serena's shadow if they're finally in something just by themselves.
I've always wanted to know a little bit more about them. I feel like I know a lot about her and like nothing about them, but they're like cronies and goons. So let's see what they're
Yeah,
like.
they're the ones who don't turn on Quan Chi. That's their defining trait, is that they're the ones who are doing the job, and she's the one who's not happy and wants to be a good person. But like, and people know Serena's my favorite female character, so if I'm okay with her not being in this movie,
Yeah, but Seattle Scouts need some time to shine too.
there is a time and a place for every character to get their own spotlight, and this is just not the right place to use Serena because Ashra's already doing the thing. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Sam. What a crazy time we're living in. I swear, within a year, we're gonna see the mythology as gods in something. I'll be happy as a pig and shit. That'll be amazing.
I would love to see the real God of Fire again, to remind everybody to ask,
that guy.
hey, what happened to that guy, Liu Kang? Did you just make it so he wasn't born in your timeline?
Did you eat him? Fire God?
Turn his ass into a cameo.
Tamp, any thoughts?
I'm gonna do what I did with Snowblind. I want to let you guys watch it, and y'all will tell me if it's good or not. And it's likely going to be good. So when y'all tell me it's good, I will watch it. Y'all told me Snowblind not so good. I didn't watch it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I still maintain it's worth at least one watch to decide yourself.
I mean,
I think there's a few things to enjoy.
It has a Jarek cameo. That was enjoyable.
Do not sell me on the snowblind thing.
That
How do you
Jarek
feel
cameo.
about Dairu? Do you like Dairu? Because there's about 5 frames of Dairu.
Well, the thing is, no.
That
Okay.
Jarek cameo is some of the funniest the movie ever gets, though. It's a hilarious moment.
The chicken thing had me interested. I will say I did like the chicken bit that Shad mentioned. I didn't know about that. That's good. I don't know if it's
All
good
that
enough for me to
matters.
sit down for
it
90
is.
minutes.
When Sub-Zero is teaching Kenshi to learn how to cope with life being blind, he's like, catch this chicken.
All that matters is this chicken.
Because he's living on a farm and there's chickens.
There's worse ways to spend like an hour and 20 minutes, man. It's fun.
Like
It's not all bad.
The Kenshi and Sub-Zero training stuff was enjoyable. I just didn't like every single other thing about the movie.
I also think you need to weigh in on like wide Cabal.
Oh yeah, Fat Cabal is a choice. That's a
He's so
decision somebody made on purpose.
He's a chunky boy for some reason.
Immortan Jobal.
Yeah, yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's the physique of a Morton Joe.
I think the one thing that kind of looked cool to me from what I saw from the footage, I didn't watch any of the trailers, but like anime Kenshi did seem kind of interesting to me. But
yeah, Kenshi. I like Kenshi's design.
I
like
their
he's got
design.
He's got a
and-
shoulder pad that's like the shoulder pad doesn't have any eyeballs, like it's an Oni's face, but it's blind too.
I really do appreciate them going all the way out of their way to like try to tell the story of how Kenshi went blind in and of itself as closely adhering to the original as possible. Like Shang Tsung is even posing as an old man named Song. You have to give it some respect.
Yeah,
for that.
I've seen people be like, they think that Shang going by the disguise name Song is from the movie. That's actually from Deadly Alliance. The movie actually followed the lore on that.
Yeah, like I don't think it's as bad as you make it out to be. I think it's still an enjoyable little waste of time.
I just find the Black Dragons as characters, that going in knowing it was about them had me wary to begin with. And I was hoping that it'd be like, oh, well, Shang's gonna get, the souls of Kenshi's ancestors, he's gonna overthrow Kano, and he's gonna be the real end boss, and it didn't go that way, and I don't like Kano, man. And then the downer ending added to that.
I personally feel that if you can't enjoy a movie that has all these chuckle fucks, all these black dragons that we just sort of dislike because they're boring or like missing this or that, if you can't even enjoy a movie that like takes them all and just throws them at you en masse as whether it's cannon fodder or not, I don't know if they're ever going to be capable of doing anything with them. Like they'd have to like put a lot of work into a lot of black dragons to like really realize them and flesh them out, I think, in the ways that you would want them to. I think that this movie really did use them together, in as much as you can have all of these weirdos together. Effectively, pretty much. Just saddens me that there wasn't any room for Tazia, apparently. Anyhow.
Okay.
We're gonna talking about Snowblind for 45 minutes.
D-Rock did send a super chat. Thank you very much. They really should bring back gibberish in MK. It's a signature of Mortal Kombat. I've also noticed sound effects aren't as great as in older games. Yeah, gibberish was great.
The sound design has been lacking since the switch from 2D to 3D. Like, you'll never get like the amount of bass on Raiden's Thunder that it had at MK2. Like, they just haven't even tried.
There's a lot of factors behind that. Like, there's the general makeup of an arcade cabinet and the kind of like noise that it sends out.
I mean, the thing is, arcade games were designed to be as loud as they could possibly be to get people's attention. Like, you hear these loud booming noises, and you look over, where's that coming from? And it draws your attention towards that game and away from all the other games in the arcade. It's a marketing tactic.
It is.
And you can't turn the volume up to max on, a home console game, because the player has control over that.
There's a lot to be said for like Dan Forden's old school like sound engineering. That's obviously like a huge factor, his training in music. But I will say, I don't think it like takes a downturn entirely necessarily in the 3D era. I think there's a lot of great bangers in there. And when Cyborg and I were doing our 3D era playthroughs of Deception and Deadly Alliance a couple of weeks back, it's been about a
Right.
month, maybe two now, like we were noticing that in Deadly Alliance, there was this really nice little bit when we were in Shank's palace when all the souls are swirling by into the Soulnado. You can actually hear them screaming as they get closer toward the camera and they fade out when they move away. So
Yeah, there's some good
there's
stuff
some
in there.
magic that's still definitely there.
And the 3D era did have the gibberish. I definitely agree with this super chat. We need the gibberish back.
Make Raiden yell nonsense again. That's all I ask. Well, him and Tanya. Actually thinking about it, maybe that's why.
Okay, there's been
Maybe
some
that's
news, I
factor.
guess, while we're talking
There's
here.
been some news.
Really?
So they're doing. I guess IGN was having like a panel with Ed Boon and Dom, maybe. So Dom just confirmed Kuai Yang is in fact Scorpion.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody clap your hands! Yeah.
But they do not address where Hanzo is. I don't know if they asked. Like I said, I'm just going off what people are saying in the Discord.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if anything else popped up, just so we don't miss anything.
Edge of our seats here, bro.
Yeah.
You do realize something, though. Scorpion is traditionally ninja.
Yeah.
Kuai Liang is Chinese.
Yeah.
He is now actually an official Chinese ninja warrior.
Okay.
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Look, the story of Mortal Kombat 12 is technically none of my business. I am only observing it out of like rubbernecker curiosity. You can't look away from the car crash as you're driving by. It's just human nature. If I can glean anything from it that, I could add to a fan fiction, then it won't have been a total loss, which is, I've already said a couple examples of where I can do that. And, this character, what they're doing here is actually interesting enough that you could borrow it in the main timeline. But there's not a lot of that. So, I hope other people enjoy it, but it's not for me. It's like some people enjoy the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. They weren't for me.
Yeah, I definitely I understand where you're coming from. I'm trying to be as open as possible with it to give it every chance in the book, and I don't see too many occasions where I'm being completely thrown for a loop and I'm wondering what they're thinking. There's one or two. Kuai Liang as Scorpion is obviously one of them, but there are reasons behind that I can kind of understand, because when you're at the top, there's nowhere else to go but down or sideways. And they're clearly not interested in like trying to top the original legacy. They know that they can't, so I don't know if I would have gotten Make Him Scorpion into my number one choice. I mean, we saw them try to make him a robot as a stunt. That didn't work. I can't comment on it yet. It's so weird. It's so out of left
Yeah.
field. I
gotta see.
gotta
it play
see what they
out.
do with it.
Yeah,
I gotta see what they
I'm
do.
in the same boat. Like I'm not gonna freak out and say what the hell are they thinking type stuff. But like it really just depends where they're going with it. What is Hanzo? Like what is the context of any of this? We don't really know for sure. So we'll have to see what they do with it and then weigh in then, I guess.
I really think the end goal is to like, by introducing more alternate timelines, then eventually they can do a big crossover between different timelines. Like they're just doing what they have to build towards a Crisis on Infinite Earths event.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a
And-
crisis.
Yeah, I feel like we had that
that's
with
what
11,
MP11
yeah.
was. I don't want that at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, but the multiverse has become the big thing in pop culture now. All the movies are doing it. Spider-Man been doing it. Flash has done it. It's just.
So you mean this time it's going to be more like true to form of what you all were expecting timelines to be, where it's the OG timeline, not just MK9 clashing with MK11, basically.
Well, I'm not
Like
saying
when
they'll do it in 11, or
Or in
12,
one.
I'm
12.
saying they're establishing this world in 12 so that in a future game they can have the fucking Marvel Secret War.
Like, remember the very
whatever.
first trailer for MK11, where we had the UMK3 Scorpion that never showed up, and like a present day Scorpion. People were really thinking that's what was going to happen last game too. I just, the thing that bothers me about like multiverse stuff is typically reserved for like events, and it's a big comic book event, and like everything is gonna change forever, and you've got your Crisis on Infinite Earths and your Final Crisis and your countdown to Infinite Crisis, and your
What we saw in
it
comics,
just feels like one. My point is it just feels like one ongoing big event.
That's the thing.
Sell. Everything is going to change forever. No, it's not, because the next time we show up, it's going to be another event where you promise that everything changes forever.
That's the thing, that when events started, it was like once every couple years, but then they realized these sell way more than the regular comics do, so why don't we just always be doing events, and then we'll always be selling at event numbers. And now we're seeing movies do it, and video games are starting to do it. It's just, nobody learns from, like, look, the comic book industry crashed. Like, it's in a bad place, and it's been in a bad place for like 20, 30 years. And nobody looked at that. Like, why are people looking at a failing industry and going, that's what we want to copy? That's what I don't understand.
Because Marvel made money.
Yeah, the Marvel movies have made
Yeah,
money, and that
that's it.
money
Like,
is
the Marvel
starting to
movies made
dwindle.
money.
Like,
That's
after
it.
after
it's running dry.
Endgame, now the MCU is not doing as hot.
He
Like,
always
maybe
stepped
now's
in.
not the time to copy that. Like, after it's already burnt out is not the time to, like, try and join in on the fad.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they do with it.
Super chat from Lance K. Did we say
yep.
that?
No, we haven't yet.
Good.
Lance K, thank you for the super chat. Hanzo not being Scorpion is a deal breaker for me. He's the logo of the company, and they just delete him. Scorpion wasn't a mantle. It's bogus. So yeah, we'll have to see what it amounts to. Like I said, we don't really know the context of any of it, what the hell they're gonna do with any of this. So hopefully they have a plan. That's all I'll say is hopefully they already have it planned out from A to Z, and this isn't just like, let's do something for shock or just to mix it up, and then they have no direction. So that's my only hope is that they have an end game here of why this is a change they're willing to make.
I mean,
Sometimes I worry. Sometimes I look at stuff like, for example, Smoke in the NRS timeline beforehand. He had these spectral origins tied into the whole Anenra thing. Now he's a guy that drops smoke bombs, apparently. And I see stuff like that, and like, we look at Rain now, and Rain is a wizard with water, and sometimes I wonder if they don't just look at some of these characters as like a collection of skills, not necessarily as characters, That kind of thing really bothers me, because Sub-Zero to me is Kuai Liang.
I think
that's
the
what
thing of it
bothered me
is
with Rain,
a lot of people, they consume media and they never think about who created that media. Like, you go see a movie and you don't necessarily pay attention to the credits. You don't, you might remember who the director was because directors always get all the credit for everything, but you didn't look at who wrote the script. The writer is the most important part of creating a story. And so the quality of the story is going to depend on the skill of the writer. And this is something that you see when people start out in comics, they just want to read whoever their favorite character is. But the longer and longer they've been in comics, they stop like following characters and they start following specific writers. Like, it's not, man, I have to read every issue of Batman. It's, man, what's Grant Morrison doing these days? Or something like that, And look at who's writing the Mortal Kombat games. What can we possibly expect out of Dominic Cianciolo? And that's really all I have to say about that.
What a happy note we
say.
fit now.
Don't want to get into too much of speculation or jumping to conclusions, because it's just all it's going to do is just be negative for when we don't even really know yet. So let's just kind of put a pin in that and see how it plays out. And If it's not good, then we will take it to task.
I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna think of smoke. I'm gonna think of Reiko, and I'm gonna think of a horse. I'm happy today. That's all I need.
Closing
let's
out
see where it
here.
goes.
Yeah, right. Closing out here. D-Rock, another super chat. It's such a shame that your channel isn't bigger. Angry face. Yeah, that's all right. We do our thing.
I think that we would disintegrate if we had more of an audience than we do.
Disintegrate. They crumble.
I have found that the larger our Discord gets, the less happy I am.
Everyone come on board.
That's great. But yeah, thank you for the support. I greatly appreciate your sentiments and everybody that supports us. Just a easy way to support us right now is just to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. But on that note, I think we're gonna bounce. I don't see anything else other than.
Well, hang on, because I feel like we interrupted Temp from saying something like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, that was about rain. Yeah, that was the big deal about the roundhouse. Because a lot of people, like, I kind of do see rain as a set of skills, and when you take away the roundhouse, that's a lot of rain just gone. But that was literally it, though.
Okay. Conversation for another time. I guess we can investigate more on.
Sure. And one other thing, I guess, that was confirmed from that panel with IGN is Omni-Man is first. So it looks like that order in the video, the names listed in that order is specifically probably the release order. So Omni-Man was at the top. And it is confirmed that JK is voicing him. So that'll be fun. It's got to have a bring me pictures of Spider-Man somewhere in there.
God fucking damn it!
Did I steal that from you?
Yes!
Twice
in an afternoon! I'm gonna do the goddamn impression. I want pictures! Pictures of Omni-Man! Ah!
That's fine. Next time we do an episode, you just start off with a welcome to the
Well,
exactly like that.
get me a coffee,
Raise.
Parker.
No raise. Meat. It's a nice Christmas ham. Get out of my office.
Meat. He's a hero. He stole my ham.
But on that note, thanks everybody for
love
tuning in.
ham.
Greatly appreciate it. Everybody tuning in. Make sure you stay smoking and take care.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
Later, nerds.
Why?
Fuck, it's on. It
Take
is.
care, everybody.
Quailang is Scorpion and Cyborg is Razor.
Fine, that's fine. Timeline's off to a great start.
I'll be smoked, man.
Hey.
Waka Waka, here's Baraka.